If you want to choose the most bizarre animal in the world, I think it must be a platypus. First of all, it's confusing from the outside. It had a duck bill. Xiaopu also resembles a bird, but you'd say it's a bird, right? It can't fly, although covered in hair, but not feathers. The platypus has a drooping body, round in the middle with two tips. The tail is broad and flat, very similar to reasonable. Not only does it look strange, platypus also has a lot of inherent unique abilities. We all know that a beast is a general term for a mammal. Biologists define platypuses as beasts. Explain that it is a mammal. It produces milk to feed its young. But the way he reproduces, but like a reptile, by laying eggs. He has tens of thousands of inductors growing on his duck's beak. This is the overlord of the ocean, the secret weapon used by sharks in hunting. Here it is. The male platypus has sharp stings on its hind legs. This is in the mammalian family. Is extremely rare. And the platypus has no taste. The characteristics of this digestive system. The esophagus is directly connected to the small intestine. They call it the rectum. You can actually see prototypes in the real world. So the platypus goes from beginning to end, from the inside out. They are all the most amazing things in the world. It's a patchwork of species. Birds, mammal, biological characteristics of reptiles and fish. It's silly not knowing who they are. Late 18th century, Australia was under the colonial rule of the British Empire. The British Governor-General, John Hunt. The first time I saw a platypus, very surprised to figure out what this is. He purposely took specimens and sketches of sent back to the UK. This was also the first time Europeans had seen a platypus. Overturned their understanding of biology. No. Naturalist George Shaw thought it was a prank. It was someone who took the carcasses of different animals together. Intentional fraud. But they check and check. I didn't find any sutures. This has caused a stir in the academic community. For the next 100 years, biology on the platypus. A systematic study was conducted. Only then did they finally understand the secrets they were hiding. Platypus loves to eat small fish and shrimp, water bugs, earthworms, and crustaceans. This determines that he must have the hunting skills of aquatic animals. So the platypus is linear. When moving in the water, can minimize water resistance. The fur covering the body is very dense and waterproof. Not only does it keep the skin dry, it can also keep out the cold in cold water. We all know that. Reasonable to be called a dam-dwelling engineer. The tail is wide and big, a superb swimmer. And the platypus tail, up to 90% similarity to a reasonable tail. This tail is like a paddle. Can provide a powerful driving force. This guarantees an extremely high swimming speed. Secondly, the platypus has 4 claws with footmen. And the principle is the same for aquatic birds. While swimming underwater, the platypus will slide its forelimbs vigorously, but the 2 footmen at the back tend not to move. It can play a role in assisting steering like chopping. Here it is. The 2 nostrils of a platypus are located above the mouth when swimming close to the surface. Kind of a crocodile rush. Just breathe with only 2 nostrils exposed. This can maximize the concealment of the body. And here's what's even stranger. Their eyes and ears are in a groove. When diving like this, 2 switches can be turned off at the same time at once. No water in the eyes or ears. But this way, they can't see. They can't hear. To succeed, hunting requires the use of special senses. Many sharks have electrical sensors, known as the father of Lorentz who. This particular sensory organ consists of a series of small holes and ducts. You take, for example, air sand. Cinnamomum sand and lemon sand can be passed through the electrical sensor. Detection of weak bioelectricity produced by prey, even if the prey hides in rock crevices and sand. Nowhere to escape. I don't know about platypuses and sharks. Who is learning who? Anyway, I have mastered this exquisite skill. We joke that the duck is dead. Mouth is still hard. Just by visual inspection, I feel that the platypus is also very stubborn. You can actually see it by pinching it. Their large, wide mouths are soft and elastic. This is because outside the hard bony structure, covered with mucus-secreting proteins, the dermis, and the platypus has electrical sensors in it. When they hunt, they go underwater. Shake your head and sweep around. Maximize the contact area to capture the bioelectric field. even if all other senses are lost. Electric sensor alone, it can also accurately detect and capture prey. However, because platypus has no teeth, in order to effectively grind food, they tend to eat gravel to help with chewing. This is very similar to the poultry we raise. Farmhouse free-range local chickens. There are almost all broken stones in the vegetarian sack, but the platypus has no flavor tissue at all. Therefore, it is more necessary to chew fully to reduce digestion. Every late spring and early summer, the platypus will enter the breeding season. The male platypus will become more active than usual. There is a greater sense of territory. Even ducks that pose no threat, break into the site, will also be expelled. To compete for a mate, the males are either fighting or preparing to fight. Once encountered, there must be a winner and loser. Rivals meet with special eyes. Before the red hands, you need to turn a few times, observe each other's flaws. Then they go head to head and fight together. You tickle me, I tickle you. From the water to the shore, from river to stream. Only hit the mountains and rivers dark light. It's time to use our secret weapon. Lu Shifang stabbed the stinger into the other party's butt. It hurt in an instant, and he rolled. Want to struggle to escape. The stinger of the male platypus grows on the hind leg. It's kind of like the sixth finger. It's connected to a unique venom gland. Scientists discovered through toxicology tests the toxin can cause nerve damage, symptoms like muscle cramps and blood clotting. Although not lethal, but it can produce intense pain. A Discovery host was injured by a duck's bill. Described as more painful than knife bay meat. I want to die. And this pain lasts for a long time. The female platypus has glands that secrete sex hormones. It can be released into the surrounding area by air and water to attract the male platypus closer. After the winner drives away the rival, you can hold the beauty back. After significant other, females are generally not picky anymore. The male's eve is full. The courtship style is interesting. Chase and play. It's essential to nurture emotions. The heat is here. He will gently bite the magnetic tail. If the other party is willing, will bite his tail accordingly. It's end to end in a circle. The locals refer to it as platypus love donuts. The next couple is about to stage the bath temptation. Let's not disturb. After mating is complete, magnetism will seek a safe place on the shore. Then start digging holes. Usually dig more than 10 meters deep. Speaking of which, you have to mention the foot servant of the platypus. Intuitively, the fan of the foot is large. Hard claws only extend to half their length. If you really want to use it to freeze, wouldn't it hurt? To accept and thank the fans for their concern. In fact, other people's preserved meat can be put amphibious. Easy to put away. After the nursery is dug, this letter is miraculous again. It turns out that people's tails also serve to act as a motor in water. Once ashore, it becomes a loading and unloading tool. He first piled the dead branches and leaves together a roll with a broad tail. You can directly pack it and take it away. I don't know who he learned from the elephant. Anyway, I learned this loading and unloading technique. The collected leaves will be used to pad the nest and block the hole. Keep predators out. The mother platypus will then lay 1 to 3 eggs and curls the egg between the body and the tail. Incubate. After about 10 days, the cub will break out of the shell. Although the mother platypus has no nipples, but it can secrete milk through the fur of the abdomen. And the cub. You can get nutrients by licking milk. Because platypus caves are hidden and very deep. So in the last century, hardly anyone has seen them lay eggs. Wait until 4 months later. What comes out of the hole is already fluffy. Fat little platypus. 1884. The British are trying to solve the mystery of platypus eggs. 150 indigenous people were hired specifically for the excavation. Finally, a female's freshly laid eggs were found in North Korea. This confused the scientists at the time. We all know that there are 4 main characteristics that define mammals. Body coat. Thermostatic breastfeeding. Viviparous, the first 3 platypuses fit. But something went wrong with the last item. If you don't classify it as a mammal, it's even less like that in another species category. Until later, scientists have discovered fossils of platypus in Australia, thus solving the mystery of the platypus's egg laying. The source of the fossil was discovered through after comparison 25 million years ago. It was found that platypus has hardly changed. It is a proper living fossil in the biological world. About 340 million years ago, animals appeared for the first time on Earth. This animal ushered in a new era of reproduction. Their descendants will be firmly wrapped in a layer of pliable wool. So even in the face of extreme water scarcity, it also ensures the safe development and hatching of future generations. Younger animals as ancestors, and then multiple branches evolved. One of these that includes generational animals as we know them: birds, reptiles, and viviparous mammals. And this one with the platypus spore. And it was populated in those early days. But then the vast majority drowned in the river of history. Only platypus and real rats survived. Both of these belong to a type of primordial beast, so you have both incubation and lactation. In addition, they have very similar physiological needs. Therefore, it is classified as a single monotreme mammal. Monopodium is the rectum and genitourinary system, named after a common opening in one anus. It's a very primitive physiological trait. That is to say, platypus and Xinyan rat with their primitive ancestors. No difference. This is due to Australia's isolation and stable natural environment to ensure the survival of these two species. Continue to the present. In 2008, the platypus was listed as a net endangered species. 2019, the Australian Environmental Protection Department has issued the number of platypuses will decrease within 50 another years. Sharp decrease of about 60%. This is not actually caused by direct hunting by humans. It is indirectly caused by human pollution of the environment. Platypus likes to live in clean streams. Lake. But the city's sewage pipe extends up here. Although a symbolic filter has been added, but a lot of trash still goes into the river. Some plastic and rope wraps around the platypus's neck, causing their flesh to rot and die. Especially some profiteers secretly discharge toxic and harmful substances have caused serious pollution. Make it impossible for fish, shrimp, and insects in the water to survive. In this way, platypus is either poisoned or starved to death. And even worse, some timber traders pursue financial gain, will cut down trees on both sides of the river. This further exacerbated the deterioration of the ecological environment. The survival of the platypus is under serious threat. Fortunately, there are respectable and lovely biologists to investigate and collect evidence, and run and tell each other. Lead everyone to clean up the garbage together. Afforestation, to keep it in time. The diminishing habitat of the platypus. I hope the oppressor won't be like Thailand, leaving only images and specimens. Let the descendants of mankind mistakenly thought he was just a fake prank.